afternoon, everybody, and welcome in on this Monday, a football Monday, 2 games into the season. I'm Dennis Fithian, and as always, joined by Jim Scarcelli. You can see him on the screen, and a former teammate of Scar's, Jerry Diorio, also with us here on this Monday, and it's great to see you guys. How are you?
Go ahead, Jerry.
Great to be here, Denny. Thank you for allowing me to come on board. Thank you.
Well,
always great to see you.
You
the
make
pleasure's all yours.
Improvement between game 1 and game 2, and you were on Friday, so we're expecting most improvement here today from you, Jerry. So we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition or not. All right.
Best improvement, game 1 to game 2. Let's see.
You will see if it ends up working out like that. We'll talk about the Big Ten. Also, the Bowling Green Falcons, who, Jack Harbaugh coached at, and Jim Harbaugh has an affinity for the other school, one of those schools down south, but, not saying glowing things about them today. We'll get some film review of UNLV, but we'll start with this breaking news. A real shocker over the weekend when it came down to the Michigan State head coach, Mel Tucker. We find out yesterday that the head coach for MSU has been suspended without pay after sexual harassment allegations. You're going to have defensive back Harlan Barnett there in the interim. Mark D'Antonio joining the staff as a special assistant. Let's start out with Scar. Your thoughts on this situation up in East Lansing?
Michigan had her in. Jim had her in speaking to the team, I think, not long before she initially came to East Lansing to speak. So, Jim knew Mike Riley, so he had her in to talk. And anyway, Danny, bottom line, here's how I look at it. You got about 130 guys playing for Michigan State who worked their butt off to play college football at a high level. They got a huge game coming up. Some of these guys are going to make their first start on national TV, big game, big crowd, paid their dues. And we're talking about this. I feel bad for the players. I feel terrible for the players who have invested so much. And this is just taken away from the focus on the guys that have been grinding and working to get to be. They're a 2-0 football team. They're playing Washington, undefeated team. So I just feel bad for the players. And that's really the extent of my comment, Danny. I wanted to go away for them. I've made it clear. I want them firing their coach every 3-4 years. I've said that. Okay. I want them firing and getting a new guy and having problems with the coaches, but not like this. I want to beat them on the fields. So they're discouraged and they got to fire their coach, but not like this. So I feel bad for the players. That's my thought.
I'm just going to say ditto the Scar on that. I mean, you got to feel bad for the players. After that, no comment.
Yeah, for me, like how many times, the older you get, you see sometimes, and people call them cautionary tales, but like for this one here, like there's things like it doesn't seem like you could do anything more stupid to put yourself, you're a married man with a family, a $90 million contract. You're the leader of young men at the university, and to take it all and throw it out the window. We watch it from afar. You'd say, yeah, this is the stupidest thing ever. But we've seen many people in power, run into these same kind of trappings. So if he's not the first, he won't be the last. But it's, one of Michigan's big rivals right in state. So, it's topical, but it is bizarre. It's terrible, for fans. I mean, we all understand, you have the rivalry stuff back and forth, and, people take shots and, all of that kind of stuff. And then, but you even look and you think, wow, man, I mean, that's a proud university and the things that they've had to go through, and now they have to go through this again. And he knew all of that. So, I mean, it's an embarrassment, and, they have to, this is rock bottom again. And, this is just disaster for the football program. I don't really see any, bright light here at the end for them. So bad situation for everybody involved there. And I do not think that we will see Mel Tucker in the green and white again, certainly on the sideline for MSU. All right, guys, let's move on to actual play. Michigan State, took care of Richmond on the field. on Saturday, but let's run over some of the other Big Ten teams. Everybody was in action out there. Scar, what jumped out to you in the conference?
Well, I was taking a good look at mainly the people we're going to play. I'll start with Rutgers because they're the next one up of the next three. We got Rutgers at home, then Nebraska and Minnesota. I looked at all three of them. I think Rutgers may be the best team of those three, of Nebraska, Minnesota, and Rutgers. We got Rutgers at home. Rutgers is the guy's gotten better. He's got a quarterback that can move and run around. He's a good defensive coach, and they're 2-0. They hammered Temple, so that might be the toughest of the three. Minnesota, run game ain't there. I like what I'm seeing there. They want to throw it now. Not as fearful of them as I was in previous years. Okay, and then Nebraska, God, guy's such a good coach, but they played so dumb, mental mistakes all over the place. And that quarterback is a crazy athlete too. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, he gave the turnovers, so many turnovers to Colorado, but they did a lot of things on defense that just made no sense. They weren't sound. I looked at Wisconsin, and he's spreading it out. Went out there, got a good quarterback. They are what they are. They could have won that game. But what else did I look at? I looked at Maryland. I looked at Biff, our boy Biff down there, gave him a game early. Maryland is, they got the super quarterback, about the same team. I think they're about the same team we saw last year. They don't look greatly improved. They got the super quarterback. And Illinois, I think Illinois will be a better matchup against Penn State. That team just totally had them confused, Kansas. Illinois' quarterback is not as good as the kid they had last year. That kid could move around, run around. Their defense just isn't as good either. So that's that. And then Michigan State, I'm looking at Michigan State. They got tough backs. They got some kids out, some running backs out. The quarterback is settled down, but by the time we see him, he's going to be a confident kid. So Michigan State, they got an athlete at quarterback. He can run. He can throw. Game 5 or 6, whenever we see him, the kid will be better. But that's a win. They're not as tough in that D-line. I see us going in there, pushing that defensive line around. And those are my Big Ten run-through. Jerry, go ahead, Danny, you want to comment any of that?
Well, Jerry, I'm going to call an audible because we have 2 questions, and I'm going to have Jerry answer them. Here's one from Papa, who wants to know if you guys ever locked horns in the cone drill back in the day. Go ahead, Jerry.
I don't remember locking horns. Maybe during demo or 11 on 11. In those 1-on-1s, 2-on-2. When Scar and I played, we used to have Tuesday and Wednesday blocked off for about 22 plays, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, and go full go. And a good buddy of mine, Mike Stoops at Iowa, he thought I was lying through my teeth and called me every bad name under the book, telling me I was a liar. But no, we used to go 22 personnel, 22 plays hard, and it was always very intense, and I think it made both sides of the ball better.
You weren't pulling out and coming around the edge and trying to get a seal on the outside linebacker in Scar? In any of those? You don't remember?
Listen, Jerry, I remember going against you. Let me tell you, Jerry's 6'4". Okay, he was a 245 pound. He could run, he could move. He's an athlete. And Jerry would come out and pull and kick out. I was an outside backer. So I remember going against Jerry, and Jerry was athletic and tough, and he hit you, man. He's not no little guy, man. The guards they have now, they play with, these guys are 300 pounds. They don't run like it's not that they could lose weight and be quicker. But the guards that we had back in our day, they asked them to run and pull and do a lot more athletic things, and But yeah, I do remember, and we got after a little bit. I remember having collisions with Jared.
Absolutely.
Right back to it, Jerry. Another question in from Scott, who wants to know about the most talented teammate you played with.
I got to tell you, I got 4 guys that come to mind right away. Anthony Carter, Steve Smith, Butch Woolfolk, and Mel Owens. Phenomenal athletes. Steve Smith could run, 8.5 minute mile and a half, come back and run a 4.3, 4.40. I mean, that's not very easy to do. And Anthony Carter, everybody knows about how well Anthony played for Michigan. Butch Woolfolk was he was just a joy to block for. I mean, I really enjoyed blocking for Butch. He made you look good. So did Anthony. And then Mel Owens, he was one of the first people I saw on campus, and I thought I was in the wrong place because he looked like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, Steve Smith would have been a great quarterback in this RPO now, Jerry.
Yes.
I mean, he was like a 4, like 4.44. I mean, that guy could run.
He was a 4.3, 4.40. Yeah. I mean, he was a legit.
Yeah, I have AC on my list, number one. Great defensive player. Keith Bostic was a hell of a terrified athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Defensively. But, yeah, a lot of great players.
All right, good stuff. Penn State, they've just kind of like Michigan. They're playing teams that they're way better than, but they've looked good. Ohio State's way better than the teams that they played, but they haven't looked so good. But I thought before the season that Michigan's 3 toughest games were going to be their 3 last games at Penn State, at Maryland, and Ohio State. I haven't seen anything different where I feel like those are not going to be their 3 toughest games. Michigan State's always a wild card because of the rivalry. But Jerry, anything to jump out to you this past weekend about watching any of these other Big Ten teams?
Yeah, well, I watched a lot of football. I watched Western come down and take it to Syracuse on the first play or second play of the game for a 70-yard run, and then they kind of got back on them. I watched a lot of teams, and what really stuck out to me was quarterback issues with some of the better programs and offensive line issues with some of the better programs. I look at that. I watched that Alabama-Texas game. And that quarterback, it's not easy to come in with a brand new quarterback starting the season. I remember when we did it with Steve Smith, and it was tough. It was tough going on the road to Rutgers with the number 1 rated team in the country with a brand new quarterback. New quarterbacks are very, very underestimated in the viewing of games. Offensive line wise, if you watch that Texas Alabama game, their left tackle's got some issues with his feet, and Texas exploited that a little bit with their freshmen, and that's what I saw a lot of this week. Quarterbacks that are new, teams with new quarterbacks, they got issues. They got a lot of work to do, and then offensive linemen that aren't moving their feet, big offensive linemen, but they're not moving their feet. It's tough.
Looking at Texas, the one thing I saw there, I'm glad that old Quinn decided to leave Columbus. That's for darn sure. That kid's a good player, and I hope he goes pro too. We don't want to see him next year because we got them second game next year.
And look at the improvement, Scar, from year 1 to year 2 this year with him. He is marked.
Oh yeah, he's a great player. He's definitely better than anything they got in Columbus now. So I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad he's playing for the Longhorns, and hopefully he'll take the money and go pro.
And you can say the same thing about Michigan. JJ is much more improved this year than he was last year.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to him coming up. Texas would have beat Alabama last year if Quinn Ewers didn't land on his shoulder and get hurt there. They were on their way. I would like to talk more about that game, but since I have Comcast Spectrum, I have been blacked out from ESPN, so I am unable to take that in, and I got a couple hours. I was thinking about watching the Bills and the Jets. I'm going to have to leave because that is still blacked out on my cable system, which is really frustrating. But hey, that's me just talking about myself and my own frustrations, but I like hearing about the game. I just wish I could have watched it. Well, Michigan has Bowling Green in 30. They're even a bigger favorite than they were in the first 2 games, 39.5, a 40-point favorite. Michigan has there's some or some Michigan alums. I guess you're never an ex-Wolverine, Scar, right? You've got Scott Leffler from Barberton, Ohio, as the head coach. Steve Morrison, Soup, Eric Campbell, fine defensive back in the day, wide receiver coach at Michigan. So some familiarity there. And Jack Harbaugh coached the Falcons, and Jim Harbaugh today was talking about his fondness for the school off of I-75 down there in Ohio.
Yeah, Leffler, I've known him a long time. I worked the camp with him. Smart coach. He's trying to build this thing. hope he would. Was hoping he'd have a little more success. And Morrison, he's an old linebacker. I coached against him when he was at Brother Rice, great player. And Jerry and both Jerry and I played with Eric Campbell, Soup, so we know Soup. And they're trying to build that program. He's trying to run. Scott wants to be physical. He wants to run the football, and he's a lot of Michigan stuff. I watched him play Liberty earlier in the year for a minute, and we're going to see. We're going to see tight ends. We're going to see. He's got that DNA. He wants to be physical, and he's got a quarterback that can run. I think that's a lot of points. But anyway, it's a game we should win. It's the last of the tune-ups. We got to get our quarterbacks, get some more work for our second-string quarterback, and just keep getting better and ready to go. Because I think maybe there was a miscommunication. I said Rutgers, of the first 3 Big Ten games, in my opinion, I think they might be the most talented game. I think one of the callers maybe misunderstood what I was saying. I think they're better than Nebraska and Minnesota. That was the point I was trying to make.
I remember when Loeffler first came into Bowling Green, they were a doormat. They were an absolute doormat. And these guys have really changed the culture down there. Again, my son's on at Western Michigan as a GA, and they played Bowling Green last year, and Bowling Green came up and surprised some people last year. They came out of nowhere. And I expect them to just do the same thing, keep growing, keep getting better. And I think Scar is absolutely correct with saying that they want to bring that culture of a toughness, a hard-nosed football team. I think they're recruiting that way, and they're going to be a formidable force in the MAC. And we need to come ready to play, because physical teams will hit you, and they'll surprise you.
Harbaugh today said he was impressed with the passing concepts that the Falcons are going to bring to the Big House on Saturday. We will see about that. Guys, I want to ask you, this is a question I'm not going to say out of left field, but there is going to be an opening up at Michigan State. And, the first name that I think of is Pittsburgh's head coach, Pat Narduzzi, who coached under Mark D'Antonio and is his defensive coordinator. He loves East Lansing. I think he would take the job. So I would put him number 1 on the list. Jim Leonard, who was at Wisconsin, I think he would be on a short list, just thinking off the top of my head here. But Sharon Moore, Jerry, let's ask you, any chance that Sharon Moore would take the Michigan State job if and when it comes available? What would you think about that?
I mean, that's when you get into the coaching world, that's the first, that's your ultimate goal. You want to be a head football coach. I remember Hayden Fry on a recruiting trip telling me that when he recruited coaches, he was looking for coaches that said they wanted to be head coaches. And that just put everybody in the mindset that we're looking to be the best. And so Coach Moore taking that Michigan State or looking to take that Michigan State job, I think it's just a natural evolvement in the coaching world. I do think that Pat Narduzzi would probably be number 1 on the list, though.
Yeah, I think, last year for about 5-6 hours, Sharon Moore was almost the next head coach at Michigan when it looked like Jim Harbaugh was going to take that Minnesota job. So if the Michigan job was open, Sharon Moore would be the number 1 candidate. There's not many when you think about outside candidates. Scar was talking about, what's his name, Leopold at Kansas, is it DeBoer at Washington? Those guys are kind of hot names right now. This is just, looking at, Michigan if the job was open. But the number 1 candidate would be Sharon Moore. So, would he take a Michigan State job? Like Mike Hart was up for, a G5. I think a MAC team wanted him. Maybe it was Western. I don't even remember. It's just going over there. But I mean, you're talking about Michigan State, and if he would. I think he would be interested in that. That would be, a tough one to lose when you're kind of the coach. But obviously, he would take the Michigan job over Michigan State. But you don't want Jim Harbaugh to leave. Scar, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I just, Denny, you've heard me. I always prefer, unless you're coming from a real solid, legitimate program. Schembechler to Moeller to Carr. If you're not in that time of deal, I'd rather prefer guys who are proven at smaller schools.
Are you worried about either of you guys, like Matt Campbell, Lance Leopold?
I ain't worried. I ain't worried about that. We just keep beating them on recruiting. No, I shouldn't say I don't worry about it, because I know I was a coach, and our rival every year, I told them same deal. I wanted to beat them, so they had a new coach every 3-4 years. So every 3-4 years I would kind of be concerned. So yes, it does. Yeah, and I would be concerned. A guy like Lance Leopold, that would be a concern, because this guy's proven 3 different places now, that he can win. Those are the guys that scare me more than some hotshot, offensive coordinator from wherever. I don't want to go against a guy who's proven and built Eastern Michigan or built Kansas, when they were terrible. Those are the guys that I'm concerned with.
I'll give you a couple of the pointers. Jim Harbaugh had a news conference about 2 hours ago, and some of the things that he said, you guys can react to it, about the backup quarterback situation. Jaden Denegal was supposed to come in last week, but Davis Warren ended up when Tuttle got hurt. Mike Hart didn't have that. I don't know if he apologized. He just owned up to it. However they. The plan was. But so Denegal, Harbaugh said today that he wanted to get Jaden Denegal, and he also wants to get Alex Orji in there. So I think that's something, if the plan goes right, Michigan, gets up like they've been in these first 2 games. Denegal and Orji, we should get some looks at a couple series there. Scar, I know that's been one of your things that you've, obviously talked about, the backup quarterback. So it's going to be different this week. You're going to
see. Listen, I don't. Me as a coach, from game 1 on throughout the whole season, I was constantly concerned and thinking about game 1 the following year. You know what I mean? I was always thinking about the future and getting these reps, figuring out where we're going to be in the future. You don't just wait for the following season to show up. No, you got who got reps. So yeah, quarterback. It isn't so much about this year. Obviously, we want to get a solid second string guy, but we want to get get a good idea of where we stand. What's the future look like? Get some of these young guys reps. So yeah, that's it's important, because we don't know where they stand with Denegal or Orji. We don't know.
With the risk of stepping on toes, I don't want to do that, but like I said, I saw some practice, and I was impressed with Denegal, to be honest with you. He's a big, strong kid. You saw the arm strength on one play. I mean, he threw that 35-yard rope, and right on the money. I thought he got back to the line of scrimmage when a lot of quarterbacks might have been sacked for a 2-yard loss. Just in those 2 plays, I think you get some good feelings for his future anyways. I think there's some real talented quarterback all over the place, but I like to see Denegal get some more reps too.
Yeah, he's a tall kid. I stood next to him. I'm 6'5". He's taller.
He dwarfed me. He's a
big kid, big tall kid. So
big strong kid.
Let's get up 35, 40, where we can get these guys in, get them some reps, and get them acclimated, get them confident, and move on.
People wanted more from the running game and wondered about the offensive line. It's been the same starters through game 1 and game 2. It looks like it's going to be the same starters through game 3. Both Harbaugh and Sharon Moore talked about the running game today, and Harbaugh pointed out that they have not had many negative plays, and even when they're lining up to stop the run, he said they could do a better job getting on the safeties to have some success there in the running game. Sharon Moore mentioned that Michigan is top 5, I think number 4 in the country in terms of not having any negative, or the fewest amount of negative plays. So they like that part, but they both mentioned just how effective the play action is and how there's no depth from the linebackers. I mean, they're all playing the run. They're all cheating up. That's why they've been having a big part of why they've been having so much success in the passing game, because they've been using play action, and those linebackers are all staying right up on the line of scrimmage. It was like taking candy from a baby, Jerry, as we all know, effective play action when everybody thinks Michigan's going to run it and they have to play for that run.
I've been fortunate enough to be coached by some of the best. And when I tried out with the Denver Broncos, Alex Gibbs was just starting to implement the zone thought. And a good friend of his was one of my coaches who I coached with at Benton Harbor, Elliot Uselak. And they actually did a thorough study on pulling and counter plays. And what they found was a lot of your negative plays come when you're running counter, pulling two linemen at the same time. You're going to put yourself in possible loss of yardage situations and second and long. And those are when your drives stop. That's what their study showed. When you start off second and behind the chains, second and long, those are what stops the drives. And that was their whole thought process when they put the zone in. Not so much pulling, but angles. And that's why the zone has been effective. And later on, if we get into it a little bit more in the video, I'm going to show about 3 or 4 different plays that come off of the zone that are very effective because it puts the linebackers in such jeopardy of making the wrong read.
Yeah, those are great points that Jerry makes, and Jim is absolutely right. Early penalties and no negative plays, man. That gets you, that gets you on track. So he looks at the little things like that. It's so important, man.
Well, let's look at some of the little things as we get into some film review. What do you think about that, Scar?
Yeah, real quick. Hey, Danny, I got a couple quick notes I forgot to mention real quick. Looking at the Big Ten. First of all, Michigan State's offensive coordinator, he's for real. He's good. I was looking at him. He's really good. So that's that. Let's look at some film here. You guys ready to roll?
Yeah, the Scar of the Telestrator, and it is brought to you by Quick Cut.
There we are. Thank our friends at Quick Cut.
Analytics. That's right.
Coming out, hitting the banner, Jerry. You remember that? Here we go, kicking off. How about some more touchbacks? Touchbacks are important. We got a guy that can put it in the end zone. That's good. Let's get him starting on the 25. Cover kick.
Absolutely. Kickoffs that are out of the end zone, priceless.
Yeah, so we got a guy that can get that done. So we start out on defense. I got McGregor circled here, left-handed quarterback. Just a little note. I mean, I'm like, listen, I played that position. You got to know they got a left-handed quarterback. They got a left-handed quarterback, and they got all this field out here. I don't know why they don't let him widen out a little more. It's just a note that, I thought of as a player and then how I used to coach it. He gets pinned in there. And I don't know that I can blame the kid because I don't know how he's being coached. So I don't know. Anyway, that kind of, I looked at that. It kind of bugged me a little bit. So this is their first drive. They get we're a little static here, but first down here on this first drive. This is something that I'm seeing. I'm not sure if they're coaching this, but we get great pressure from our edges. Great pressure from our edges. And I don't know if it's that this tackle was this bad over here, this guy here, Jerry, or because this Stewart's getting a lot of attention. He's always getting the back. But what I'm talking about with the mirror rush, I've done this, Jerry, as a coach. I don't know if you ever did. We're our two inside guys are just kind of punching and mirroring so they can step up either way on a quarterback if he steps up A gap or B gap. You follow me there, Jerry?
Absolutely. And, the thing I've noticed about Michigan, especially since going back to Ohio State last year, they're playing those guys up. Those outside linebackers, they're playing them up, which gives them a lot more opportunity to see the play and defend the run and defend the pass. So I kind of like this technique. I really kind of liked it.
Anyway, that's Moore coming off the edge, getting pressure, and then Stewart getting pressure. So that's a great start. Get him punting the football. So here we go with.
Okay,
go ahead, Jerry. Why don't you talk about this one?
Okay, I want to talk about the zone because the zone can hit anywhere and can do a lot of different things. Right here, you're seeing the offensive line and the back going in the same direction. That would tell you it's inside or outside zone to the right. But it's a play action pass. You got the wham or the H-back coming across the motion to protect the backside. Bill Belichick used to always say, don't tell me how many pass routes you can. Tell me how you protect the passer first and foremost. This always seems to be a problem for the defense. Faking the ball and then getting the ball right back to that person that you fake to. Here's Karam in the flat, and nice pickup for 20 yards. Beautiful play design, and that's all off the zone. It's making the linebacker step up. This is just pure arm strength. This
all right,
next
Jerry, I got nothing to add here. Let's take a look at this.
This is just pure arm strength. 8 guys dropping. I don't know how he sneaks this thing in here, but it's just pure strength.
Just rushing 3.
Just rushing 3, dropping 8, and he threads the needle right behind the linebackers again. Beautiful throw.
Yeah, this coach, he brought pressure. He mixed. We didn't see a lot of 3-man rush, but we're blocking it. Good.
Right, he really steps into the ball and really delivers a strike. That's a beautiful throw.
Oh, looking good.
Speaking of beautiful.
Okay, 1st and 10.
Okay. Go ahead, run. I think we got the same thing. Same thing. We got the same blocking scheme. Everything's the same. It looks like outside zone. Love seeing the but here you see the strong safety moving up, making 8 in the box. That means man coverage everywhere. That corner's got to bail because our receiver is going to beat him if he doesn't, which leaves the corner pass wide open. But watch the strong safety come down. JJ sees it. He knows he's got man right now, and he knows if they cover that, Edwards out in the flat, that corner is going to be open.
Yeah, so we're making them pay for overloading that box.
Exactly.
Eight guys at the snap of the ball.
That's how you exploit that 8-man.
You don't beat your head in the ground to make the media and everybody happy. You know, Jerry, that you can run the football.
Okay, here's that zone again. Now I want you to take a real look at the offensive line is blocking down, and they're washing. They're creating that wall. Look at the tight end. That is a beautiful job by the tight end here. He comes down. He sees nobody in his path, and he peels back on that linebacker. You've got Loveland kicking out on a wham block. I call that. We used to always call that a wham. Look at the linebacker stepping up. There's no way they're going to make that play. They get caught up in the wash, and this is more of a dive. This is the back going opposite the line's direction. This is
Jerry, when you talk about the linebacker stepping up, he's seeing the back work with a little width here, so he's thinking here.
He's stepping up. He's got to protect that gap. He's got to protect that gap.
So he's honoring the little step with width.
Well, actually, Scar, he doesn't even step that way. He just goes right down on the dive. He's going away from the line's direction. It's still the linebacker's got to step up.
Okay, here was a point, Jerry, I was making now. I want you to start counting here. Okay, we just run this play, and this is live now. This is live time. So we just ran that play. 1, 2, 3. So here's my statement. What happens now? Okay, what I meant by that is what's going on with the communication. So 1, 2, 3. They're looking at the silent. 4, 5, 6. They've decided what they're going to run. 8, 9, 10, 11. So 12 seconds and we're running a play. So They looked at the sideline after that ball was downed. Follow up on that, Jerry.
Well, what we used to do in high school, okay, is if we would have had a big play, we knew we had something coming right behind it. Right? We practiced it all week. We gave a game situations where, okay, big run. We went big run against the demo. Now we want to catch the defense sleeping. And so we're running right up. And I don't care if it's just a wedge block like this, a wedge play like this, or coming back with the same play the opposite way, whatever it is. But we had those 2 plays ready to go. And it was, I believe we used to call it thunder or something like that, lightning or something like that, meant let's get on the ball and move now.
All right. Anyway, they got it done quickly, but you know what I don't like, because I don't like our right tackle here, Jared. Take a look at our right tackle. He hasn't even moved.
He's off the ball slow. Yeah. He's off the ball slow.
Look at these guys are already out of their stance. Tight end hasn't moved. Tackle hasn't moved.
Yeah,
they got to get with the program. But anyway, we slam them in there, and we take them into the student section. And how about this guy now coaching the first half? Jay Harbaugh. He's been with Jim from day one. And is he going to get a chance? Is someone going to hire him?
No, I think you'd be foolish if you weren't looking at them at some of these schools. I mean, look at the pedigree, look at the knowledge he can come from.
All right, here we go. 3rd and 13. One of many different looks that Michigan's defense is given. We're in a 5-1 look. Okay, we got 5 up, one back. And again, the running back is it because of this tackle? Is it because of Stewart? Because he saw it in the first 2 games now. He's getting extra, but again, we get the pressure off the edge. That's Derek Moore again. He's gotten better. He's gotten faster. He looks leaner. And so we're dropping a linebacker here. Again, Minter mixing it up. They don't know what they're getting. So I like it. And we got guys that can come off the edge and rush.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing that really makes this, and I saw it in the practice. Our front two up there, they get movement. They get those offensive linemen going backwards, and that's tough for a quarterback. I saw it in the practice. JJ was having a hard time with it. Here is the outside zone. So we looked at the play action pass off a zone. We looked at the dive off the zone. Here is the outside zone. And basically what this is a sprint run. Everybody is running. Watch the offensive lineman pushing people off blocks so they can get to the next level. The running back is looking for color. That's the color he's looking for. He's looking for this hip. Do we got dominant color out here? He actually sets up the block at the tight end, which is a beautiful thing. But this is great movement here. There's a huge wall. That's a tough play to stop. And one last thing on this, you got to love wide receivers blocking downfield.
Yeah. Now you're getting this movement right here. Look where these guys are playing.
I'll tell you what, let's take it back one other. Look at the backside guard push the center off to the backside linebacker. Watch this. Go. He literally pushes him to the backside linebacker. That is good line play right there. That is a great way to block the zone. That's outstanding.
And I know, Jerry, we'll run to Loveland out of when we run the zone, they got confidence running to Loveland. So they don't run the power to him as much, but they run.
Well, zone is a very technique type of play. I mean, there's finesse involved in the zone. That's why Denver got away with smaller offensive linemen running the zone. Here's one. I know I'm saying no. Good throw.
Jerry, talk about the right tackle here, Hinton at the top.
He's setting a little deep, but he moves his feet well. This is something I didn't see at Alabama. This is something I didn't see with some of the teams I watched this week. He's got great feet. Now, he might be missing some assignments. I saw him miss some assignments so far this year. And he may be still getting acclimated to the offense, but he's got great feet.
You know why I like this play here? Because they're throwing the ball to 89. I want the defense to know that when 89's in the game, he's not just a blocker, and this is good. We can't just throw to 18. So
Barnum is a very talented tight end, and he's had a very good fall so far. I'm looking for big. I'm happy with our first 2 tight ends receiving passes. Not so sure about blocking yet, but receiving passes, yeah. Anyway, I think Barnum's a better blocker, actually.
Yeah, that's good to see that. Danny, anything going on with you? What are you seeing, Danny?
Well, I like, Michigan's been running that tempo in short yardage situations for the last 2-3 years, and it's been effective for them. So I like that. And, watching JJ, if JJ has put together 2 masterful, he was pretty good last year, but, he looks great. I mean, that's been the story of the season. If we're going to have one story, there's always like 5, 10, 20 stories, but the number one story is that JJ McCarthy looks great.
So here we are on the goal line again. So we're two for two, just launching dudes, hammering on the wedge play, just moving people. Outstanding. I'm going to give you a different look here, Jer, and take a look at some pad level. I put this in. We did the shoots every damn day. We come out of the shoots to get
When
low.
did you ever do the shoots, Scar?
Well, we had to line up against you guys, and we did things to learn to play low too. I know about taking you guys on coming out of the shoots. Anyway, I'd like to see Big Hinton get a little lower, but you can see, look at the pad level here. I mean, this Hinton's big kid, but all this stuff matters, and you know that, Jerry. Talk about that real quick.
Well, I've always we ran this we ran a zone particularly. That was our base play. But a nice complement to the zone is this type of wedge play where we're just wedging at the point of attack, getting movement, and just knocking people off the ball. I'd like to see a little kick out action, maybe go off tackle with it a little bit more. But I'm a big fan of the wedge scheme to go, especially with the zone.
A smart coach told me that this was one of the toughest stunts to block.
Who was that, Scar?
Terry Malone, Michigan coach, was coaching
sure.
at Michigan. He told me about this stunt. We used to run it when I was playing, and I ran it as a coach, where you lit your outside backer, and I was the guy that had to do this. So, well, they're edge players now, but anyway, this is the stunt where the edge player. Let me run it all the way back. He's going to show like he's coming outside. You take a step up, and then you work under, and we run it. We execute it well. We do it with the backer in here. And this is good for the outside backer to get our edge player to get an underneath opportunity, and it creates confusion for UNLV's protection. And Harold does it real good with Barrett. Is that Barrett in there? Yeah, that's Barrett. So they execute that real well. Good job by both of them. Tough stunt to block.
Hey, run that back real quick, Scar. I want to just say one thing about that blitz right there. This blitz actually creates a smaller outside. Okay. It makes contain right now over the guard area instead of over the tackle area. And that's what I hated seeing when I'm calling plays or blocking. When they're coming over that guard and they're just setting the contain point at the guard instead of the tackle, that's tough.
Yeah. So that's why Barrett has to understand that, and he has to be the contain guy.
Yep.
Because the backer, the edge player's coming underneath. Yeah, a good point. And obviously they worked that up.
All right, this is counter. I call this counter because you pull in the backside guard and the tackle. That is a counter play. I like the run. It's a hard-nosed run. And I think I saw a couple nice runs from Edwards this week that were really hard, tough runs.
What's the biggest problem with this play, Jerry? Why is it not going for more?
Safety's not accounted for.
Exactly. We missed the block on Johnson on the safety, which would have put and that's going back to what Coach Harbaugh said. I mean, we've got to make blocks downfield, and that's going to make that 4 yard 8, maybe 20, and maybe a touchdown later on in the game, because that corner is going to get tired. Remember, the worst tacklers on the field are the corners.
Yeah, Kojo's got to get this guy blocked. We got to find a way to get it.
He's got to definitely get that block.
Yeah, that ain't cutting it for Michigan.
No, that's and yeah, that's no. He's got to make a block downfield.
All right, Jerry. Let's take a look at this. Okay, this play. This is 4th and short. We get stopped. Now we just hammered them twice on the goal line. We wedged them twice and hammered them. Okay, now we get stopped, and I want to take a look at this. Let me get this thing back here. This is a big play in this game. This gave them a little confidence. So it's 4th and short, 4th and 3, and we've been hammering. And this is where the problem is. We'll run it through. But there's one little sniper in there. He gets inside a Zinter.
Well, here's the deal, Scar. Here's the bad of running the wedge up the gut. Once that tackle takes out. Once that tackle takes out Zenter's legs, because that's all he's doing. He's just there to create a pile. That's it. They know we got a 4th and 2, not a 4th and 1, a 4th and 2. So if we can stop that movement at the line of scrimmage or a half a yard, he's going to run into a lot of blue jerseys, and it's going to be short. And
let me ask you this. Now I messed around with splits, as a coach sometimes. As a player, did coaches give you the freedom? Did you give your players freedom to tighten up their splits, go more foot to foot here?
All right, I'm going to give a little okay. Well, here's the deal. Here's this simple rule. If the play's going in, we're splitting out. If the play's going out, we're tightening down our splits. What that does is when you split out on an inside play, it makes the inside play a lot easier to run, okay? When you tighten down and you're running outside, now you gave yourself more outside leverage. And so that was the rule of thumb we used to do.
Okay, so do you think Zinner should have tightened up his splits there?
I think the ball's coming right at him. No, I don't think that at all. I think you're going inside. But again, here you are, Scar. You're in a TNT look. There's a bare front. That's tough to run inside there.
All right.
There could have been another play. There could have been another play that would have been more successful, maybe in an audible.
Anyway, Michigan did a great job of this. This is one that and it's actually, they pick up yards here, but we did a real good job as a defense, missing the back inside. Now, I know it's a bad demonstration because they picked up yards, but this is one of the only times they had success. So these are little things that a defensive coaches coach, and I think Minter did a great job with it because we do so many stunts where different players are containing backers and safe, and overall did a great job of keeping the ball inside the defense. Again, they picked up yards here, but I would be satisfied with some of that stuff. Let's take a look at Sandestro here. Big, they complete a pass here, 3rd and 9, but he drives on it. Drives. We talk about this as coaches. Get a break, drive, and then finish on the tackle. He drives him into the ground, and he doesn't secure the catch. So, that's a great job by Sandestro. We coach this stuff up, drive, take him down. Would have been a completion, made it happen. Jerry, go ahead, talk about this play here.
How many times, I want to go back to that defensive play, how many times do we hear Bo sit there and say, hey, they're going to catch some passes, but we're going to make them pay for it, and that's what we did on that play, and it broke up the pass. I'll tell you what, having Edwards coming out of the backfield and Corum out of the backfield catching passes that's a treat.
Okay, now I'm a little confused here. Where am I at here? Let's get back to where we were. Okay, so we covered that. We just looked at Sandestro. I know this is a different play. Okay, let's move on. Again, okay, we looked at this, and you're right. We know they're going to complete some passes. Let's just keep it to a minimum and bring them down. Very good. Okay, next play. This is the stuff, Denny. When people talk about Donovan Edwards, again, I've covered this. How so many things we can do with this guy from this position. Okay, he's a pass threat on the wheel route. That would be a concern for me. I got to get a linebacker that can run with this guy. But they do. Michigan does a lot with him. So here we are, just throwing a little dink, and this is the stuff that really makes him special. Oh, I think he's going to play a lot of pro football. Little dink passes like that, they drive a defense crazy.
I'd have him on my fantasy football league.
Yeah, he's a problem. So they're good to get Morris going. Good to get this guy some catches. He had a lot of catches Saturday, so he is working his way toward being the 3rd receiver. So that's good. I don't really like this play because, again, it's the franchise, but we motion out to empty and we run JJ. I mean, this play is there all day long. But, again, he's the franchise. Put someone else in the game. We're up 14. Put somebody else in there. But this is a tough play to defend, man, because you motion out into empty, and now this linebacker has to come out of here with Donovan. So,
well, he should slide down here. He should slide down, not be going.
He's the franchise, man. He's the franchise.
Yeah, well, Sharon Moore, he said he was holding his breath today, but he likes, they keep calling him that hockey player. He likes the contact. He wants the contact. But,
yeah, but, sometimes a coach has to overrule, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. Good point.
Exactly. We all like things.
Jerry, that as a coach, sometimes, the kids want to hit. They want to hit. They want to hit. Well, you got to know when to chill out. Now, here's empty formation. I like this, the personnel we put in here, because now this is a problem for defenses. We still have a tight end in the game, and then we got Donovan Edwards out here. So one of these is this 18 right here, and then we got Donovan in the game. So this is a problem for defenses to match up because our personnel, we could still run the ball with that personnel. So they got to call their defense accordingly. But we've done some good things, and here we go to Roman. So good.
I used to love that pass right there. We used to call it Chief, where the inside receivers were taking the safeties deep, and then under dig from the outside receiver. That's a tough pattern to cover.
You know, we've heard Mike Elston talk about gap and a half. Okay, you know, this is like clinic tape. So if Minter or Mike Elston are given a clinic talk, and then that's when coaches talk clinic talk, this is the stuff you want to show. See, Harold's responsible for out here, C gap. Graham is responsible for A gap, okay? But who is defending the B gap? Well, they want these guys to be gap and a half. Gap and a half. And that's really, really hard to do. And watch what these guys do. Watch what these guys do. They punch, they play their gap, Now they both shed. And they take, you know, obviously we got a safety coming up here, but the play is somewhat stopped by these two players two players are handling three. And that's hard to get, man. It's really hard to get. That's all Big Ten football defense right there. So that was outstanding by Graham and Harold. Gap and a half defense right there.
That's textbook. I'll tell you one. Let's go back to that real quick, Scar. I've heard a lot of coaches say two gap. I don't like two gap because when you play two gap, you play none. But Graham here secures his A gap and then plays over the top. He's looking underneath the armpit of the offensive lineman. He sees the running back disappear basically into the B gap, and he rolls into it. And that's just textbook. That is beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, that's clinic. Jerry, why don't you talk about this? Here's number 20 on kick return. That was interesting to see a big, strong kid.
Well, I like. I tell you what, I'd have him on there a little bit more on the short yardage stuff there too. I like this young man. He's a hard running young man, kind of an old school fullback type deal.
Yeah, you can't do the wedges like back in our day, but they still do. There's some collisions out there on that. So that's that. What do we got here? So we've got back on defense, 3rd and 4, and I got. Look at this Mason Graham again. Look at that again. Same kind of deal, Danny. He's taking this guard. He's punching. He's working a bull. He's got hands on him. You know, he's got hands, but he knows he's got to try to come off. And that is, if he don't make that play, that's a first down. He don't make that play, it's a first down. So that is a great job by him. Punching.
I tell you, Scar, I saw him at the practice, and I'm telling you, JJ was having all kinds of problems because he was in his face the whole day. That is going to be a problem for teams down the road. Okay,
here, Denny, I was talking about getting some more explosive plays. That Michigan needs more explosive. Urban Meyer was ripping on us before, but here we come out unbalanced. Well, 3-1, not so much unbalanced, 3-1. And we catch Roman coming across. But we need explosive plays too. You know, we're trying to get them, and good defenses are going to prevent those. But I was happy to see an explosive play.
Let's just keep it going, Scar. Go back to that play one more time. Just let it run. Let's see the wide view. Keep it going. Just keep it going from here. I want to show you the linebacker. Look at him looking for run, and then he's got to come back and look for the receiver coming across. Excuse me. If you see the bigger view, they're asking that strong safety, you got to come up on the run, and then you got to find a receiver after that. That's tough to do, and you're not going to do that against him.
Again, that's the run threat that we're trying to establish. So here we go with Stewart. Now, listen, they haven't called his name a lot, okay? But this kid's a factor, you know. So I ain't worried about sacks. I see this guy smashing dudes. Look what he does at his tackle here. So we got guys that can rush the quarterback, man. We got edge players that can rush.
He had 5 sacks in the first half. This kid.
Yeah, so, you know, again, is it because this kid's that bad? Is it because our guy's that good? He keeps getting running back help. So we're running a 5-man stunt here. Good coverage. Good job there. Let's move on. But then we hit a guy. Come on, man. We got to be smart. We played so smart. And here's Benny. Come on, you're trying to get reps. Be smart. Coach Ellison works the heck out of this stuff. We got to be smarter. That'll kill us if we go to Michigan State and we do that. We can't do that.
Yep.
Here we go, Jerry. Question the adjustment. Okay. Sometimes, and as a coach, sometimes you'll see a formation that you haven't worked on. They didn't show it. You didn't see it last year. I mean, we only got one game on these guys, but this is an unbalanced formation. They got three up here, 1, 2, 3, 2 receivers, but they got two backs right next to each other. So I don't know that this is how he would want to adjust. Okay. And they rip us in here, but watch, I'm going to show you what happens here. See, he's reading that. He should be reading. This is Sanistro. He should be reading that mesh point to read runner pass. If they give him the ball, then he'll fly up in here and help on making the tackle. But I'm going to run it now and watch his feet. He takes just a couple steps upward after, right?
Well, here's what I used to do on our defensive side. We would have this Mike scrape. He's not going to do anything in there. He's got plenty of help inside there. That dive is not going to go, especially since I think he's got the dive. I think our outside linebacker is really responsible for the dive, which really puts our linebacker outside. I don't think we scraped real well on that play, and that's what cost us on that play.
Okay. Anyway, you got to read that mesh point, and if he read it better, what do we got here? 3rd and 3. Okay, let's move on. How about Mike Hart?
One of the great running backs of all time. And there's Big Fred.
He's paid his dues. He's been around, and we got the legend over here, Freddie Jackson.
We got the Big Fred over on the other side here.
Jim says he's got 10 guys on there. I agree with him. I watched them all coach. He's got 10 guys that can be head coaches.
Oh, I agree with that.
3rd and 6. Now let's moving along. Here we go on defense. This is an empty set, and we're giving some different looks. We've got 4 up, and now we're dropping an edge player, and we're bringing a guy off the edge. So more Minter stuff. Get a good drop, and we get a deflection. This is big Kenny Grant. That's a big dude putting that big mid up there, right here.
Those two
good
are going
job
to be
getting the hands up. You can't coach height. So that's a good stop. Blocking it, knocking it down.
Okay, hold up, Scar. I want to show you this. This is not power. This is not what I would call power. This is what I would call, this is an inside zone with the bender. Watch the offensive line. They're all blocking inside zone. The running back is going with the direction of the line, but then bends it back behind the double team between the left tackle and left guard. And I'm not talking about a double team. I'm talking about a combo. He sees this 3 technique violently go into the A gap. So that takes him right up to the linebacker.
And Jerry, talk about why you called it. See, the course of the back is all designed to deceive these guys, isn't it?
It's all designed to bring those linebackers up so they get caught up in the wash. There's once they've got to commit, they've got to come up and play the run. Yeah. Once they commit, now they're in the wash. I call this a wham block by Loveland. What makes this effective is how tight he is to the offensive line. And we get out of the good wash, great down block. But this is the thing about the zone. We saw a play action pass. We saw a dive. We saw inside zone. We saw outside zone. And now we just saw bender. That's 5 plays off 1. That's tough. That's tough.
The course of the running back is that adds to creating conflict. Anyway, here's Tuttle in the game. God, I was hoping to see something from him. And they come with a blitz pressure off the edge. I thought the guy was going to get drilled. I thought it was like a negative play because you can see they're bringing pressure here, and he pulled it out. He found the seam in there. What a great job of finding the seam by Tuttle. And then he gets knocked out of bounds here. I was just so frustrated with this. I wanted to see this kid get some reps, but, Jared, what are you going to do, man?
Well, hey, he got up. He's fine. It looks like he's fine. He's going to get reps this week. I got a feeling.
All right, take this one, Jared. Here we go. We got
Okay, here. I don't know. I didn't save. Let's go back to the beginning. I think he's making the pre-snap read mistake right from Jump Street. Let's pause it right at the beginning. The way I used to count line, or the way I used to count a defense, pause it. There's a half a player. He's on the nose. I call him a half. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm thinking we want to look at the other side. Let the play run.
Of the field.
The other side of the field.
Yeah.
Let's look at the other side of the field. Let the play run through, and you're going to see that linebacker drop out of position, which allowed that little hook on the sideline. Even if you miss it, throw it out of bounds, but don't throw an interception. You don't throw interceptions. You cannot turn the ball over and want to be a national title contender.
Yeah, he just didn't see this linebacker. He didn't think he was going to drift over there.
He's got to make a pre-snap read on that, Scar. He's got to see my numbers are on the other side, not this side. If we run it, you'll see the linebacker drop, and that hook on the sideline was wide open.
Anyway, this guy here, Guy 42, I can see what they like about him because he's got good feet. He's good dropping in coverage. So we got some young guys in the game now. And he's showing me something. I can see why they like him.
He's got a little violence in him too. I like his tenacity.
Yeah, he's shown me the ability to rush, and he's a pretty good pass drop. It looks like he trimmed up a little bit from last year, but anyway, I'm taking a close look at the edge guys because that's near and dear to my heart. You know, Jerry, you're going to look at offensive line. I'm always going to look at
where the game's won.
Defense wins championships, baby.
Where the game's won, the offensive line.
All right, here we got some young guys in the game. This man, you know, we're 35 goose, 240 left, and this guy's too high. We're gonna run it through. It's a darn touchdown in there.
I think number 40 made a mistake. The nose guard looks like he goes from one A gap to the other A gap, which tells me number 40 should have been coming over.
Well, this guy doesn't slant into his gap. He should be slanting here. They're bringing pressure off the edge. He's contained. He should be filling in here, and he should be filling right where the touchdown hits.
Oh, hey, you can
argue.
Got
two
with
guys
that
in the same gap. You got two guys here. These two guys end up in the same gap. It's not coordinated.
But here's and I agree with that, Scar. I never want two guys in the same gap. There's no question about that. But let's look at the nose guard.
He's high. He's getting knocked out of there.
I think he's actually angling to the opposite A gap, which would have told him to come over more.
Well, he's too high. He's getting knocked out of here. So anyway, I put that on that left defensive, or that our right tackle who's not. That's why, Denny, you hear the term defensive coordinator. His job is to make sure everything's coordinated. And coordinated means everybody's doing the same thing.
Everybody fits.
Yeah, it's not coordinated. So
everybody fits.
That's
let me answer a quick question that's on the board here. I mentioned it earlier. Richard wanting to know about Orgy. Jim Harbaugh said today that Orgy is playing. I mean, the plan is to play him and Denegal, second string, third string, coming up this Saturday. So I think you'll see.
That is a rope. That right there is a rope, and that's what I saw. This kid has got some talent. I think this young man's got some talent. Denegal has got some talent.
And he's throwing the ball. He's throwing that ball to Samaj Morgan out of West Bloomfield, highly recruited kid. So good to see him get in the game, get a catch. So young guys getting in there to protect. Anyway, that's the end of the action there, Denny, on it.
Well, I was impressed. I just want to say thanks so much to Quick Cut Video and Analytics, Scar's video analysis, Jerry as well. So there you go. You got Bowling Green coming up, and there you go. Michigan, a big favorite. There you go, Dave. What's up, man? How about some final thoughts as we get ready this week? You know, Michigan 2-0 and, Bowling Green on tap, and then the Big Ten starts. I'll start. We mentioned it a few times about Rutgers. The thing about Rutgers, 2 years ago, Michigan didn't score a point in the second half, and they had 4 3-and-outs. For everyone's like, these last 2 years, championship teams, that game right there, that was a hairy one. And in fact, the first 3-and-out, Michigan was, I think they had a 3rd and 9, and they ran it in Rutgers territory. Nobody likes that. And so, you got to a little remember you're trying to progress as you go through the season. Rutgers, that was a tough one. You're going to have a couple of those wherever they're going to be. And there was a couple like that last year. But, 2 years ago, Nebraska at home was a tough one. So that's where I'm sitting right now. One more game, and then, Big Ten football starts. Go ahead, Scar.
Yeah, Denny, listen, same things. Let's win the football game, and let's get better, and let's play a lot of guys, and let's come out healthy and get our second string all these quarterbacks some work, and we're just rolling, man. We're rolling. And pick of the week, I've been terrible picking these games without knowing these darn teams. But guess what? I know that Army's coach is, I don't know what he's doing. Change what they're running. They're going to get crushed by UTSA. UT San Antonio is given 11. They're going to crush him. That guy's a great coach at UTSA. That's my pick of the week. Win some money.
All right. Well, Coach Lloyd Carr used to say you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. And I think that's got to be our goal from here on. I told some of the kids when I saw them, one day at a time. Quit listening to all the hype about national champs and all this other stuff. One day at a time. Let's get better every day. Let's concentrate on getting better every day. And so we can compete for that later on. Pick of the week.
You don't have to have a pick, Jerry.
But I do want to say this. SC looks much improved.
Okay. Yeah, let him play somebody that knows how to defend. You're right, Jerry. They are. He's recruited. He's brought in defensive players.
He has brought in some serious defensive help.
That guy's been around. That guy's a good defensive coach. But we see him next year. That quarterback will be gone. But he is really smart offensive mind, man. I tell you, Danny, a guy that a lot of people around the country watch is Lincoln Riley. What he's doing offensively, he'll be one of the first guys I see run stuff. And then sure enough, a month later, here's other guys running his stuff. Little deceptive little tweaks to the RPO stuff. He's a brilliant mind, and he's got good player. And you're right, Jerry. He's recruited good, better players, man. So
offensively, you could take that off the charts. We all know what they have. We all know the coaching brilliance. But defensively, they're much improved.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking at.
You're absolutely right.
I think that the coach and players of Colorado should get some more hype, man. These 2 games have been fabulous for them. I was impressed with Colorado this past Saturday.
Rocky Mountain, Denny. I went there on my recruiting trip, and they said, "Hey, you want some Rocky Mountain oysters?" So I'm eating these things and just popping them like popcorn. They're fried, breaded out. It tastes good.
Yeah.
You know what a Rocky Mountain oyster is?
No.
Well, it's the testicle, man, and they chop it up of a cow. They told me after I ate a whole big basket of them. Thanks a lot. Colorado, Buffalo.
I'll call you up on that one, Scott.
Needless to say,
I'll talk later.
I didn't go to Colorado.
I'll talk to you later about that one.
Balls to the wall. All right, we'll talk with you Wednesday, guys. Great job.
All right, go Blue.
Hey, I'm going to give a shout out to somebody last week that told me to say hell to the victors. That's going to be my end. Hell